Sikkim, a small yet strategically significant state in the northeastern region of India, has a unique political history that has evolved from a monarchy to a fully integrated democratic state. For centuries, Sikkim was ruled by the Chogyals, monarchs who governed the kingdom with considerable autonomy. However, following significant political changes and the growing demand for democratic governance, Sikkim underwent a transition that led to its integration into India as the 22nd state in 1975. This transformation from monarchy to democracy is a defining moment in Sikkim's history, and it was achieved through a series of gradual political reforms that culminated in the abolition of the monarchy and the establishment of a democratic state. One of the key milestones in Sikkim's political development was the introduction of limited democratic structures, such as the State Council in 1953 and the Sikkim Legislative Assembly in 1959, which paved the way for the state's full democratic participation in 1974. However, the transition was not without challenges, and the democratic process in Sikkim continues to face issues such as clientelism, where voters often choose leaders based on personal benefits rather than leadership qualities. A significant occasion that highlights the importance of voting and strengthens democratic values in India and Sikkim is National Voters' Day. Celebrated annually on the 25th of January, this day marks the foundation of the Election Commission of India and aims to increase voter participation and awareness, particularly among young and first-time voters. National Voters' Day plays a critical role in promoting ethical voting practices and ensuring that citizens are fully aware of their responsibilities in shaping the future of their state and country. In Sikkim, the celebration of National Voters' Day is a reminder of the vital role that every eligible voter plays in sustaining democracy and ensuring that their voices are heard. This video will explore the history of democracy in Sikkim, focusing on the key events that led to its transformation from a monarchy to a state under the Indian Constitution. Additionally, it will discuss the significance of National Voters' Day in encouraging ethical voting practices and the initiatives needed to overcome the challenges of material incentives in the electoral process. Finally, it will highlight the leadership of Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamung Golay Sir, whose vision and commitment to democratic governance have the potential to guide Sikkim toward becoming a model of prosperity, empowerment, and ethical governance. Sikkim was originally a kingdom ruled by the Chogyals, monarchs, from 1642. In 1890, it became a protectorate of British India, with the British managing its external affairs while the Chogyal continued to govern internally. After India's independence in 1947, Sikkim signed a treaty with India in 1950, remaining a protectorate. In 1953, limited democracy was introduced with the establishment of the State Council, where some members were elected, but the Chogyal retained most of the power. Over time, political parties emerged, demanding more rights and representation. In 1974, elections were held for a new assembly under a constitution that reduced the Chogyal's powers. In 1975, a referendum was held where the people voted overwhelmingly to abolish the monarchy. Sikkim then became the 22nd state of India on May 16, 1975, adopting full democracy under the Indian Constitution. Since then, Sikkim has held regular elections and developed as a peaceful and democratic state. The first vote in Sikkim, a historical overview before 1975, Sikkim was a monarchy under the rule of the Chogyal, and its political system was far from democratic. The first instance of voting in Sikkim occurred in 1953, when a state council was formed. This council consisted of elected and nominated members who had limited powers and mostly acted as advisors to the Chogyal. The elections were conducted in a limited format, where only a small segment of the population could vote, and significant power still rested with the king. While this move introduced some form of representation, it was far from a democratic structure, as the monarchy retained control over key decisions. In 1959, Sikkim took another step forward by forming the Sikkim Legislative Assembly, a body with slightly greater powers than the State Council. This election allowed more people to vote for their representatives, but the assembly still operated under the Chogyal's authority. Decisions of the assembly could be overruled by the king, making it clear that democracy in Sikkim was still in its early stages. However, this election showed a growing demand for political representation and laid the groundwork for future reforms. By the early 1970s, political changes were accelerating in Sikkim. Increasing demands for democratic governance and equal representation led to the establishment of the Sikkim State Legislative Assembly in 1974. This was the first full-scale democratic election in Sikkim, where all eligible citizens could vote. The election, conducted under the supervision of the Indian government, marked a major shift toward democratic governance. The new assembly had more significant powers, and its formation was seen as a critical step in aligning Sikkim with India's democratic framework. Following the 1974 election, political momentum continued to build, leading to a historic referendum in 1975, where the majority of Sikkim's people voted to abolish the monarchy and join India as its 22nd state. The transition from monarchy to democracy was complete, and the people of Sikkim finally became full participants in the democratic process. The elections of 1953, 1959, and 1974 collectively highlight Sikkim's gradual transition from a monarchy to a democracy. Each step reflected the growing aspirations of the people for a system where they could elect their representatives and play a role in governance. While the early elections were limited in scope, they set the stage for Sikkim's eventual integration with India and its adoption of democratic values. National Voters' Day in India and Sikkim National Voters' Day in India is celebrated every year on the 25th of January to mark the foundation day of the Election Commission of India, ECI, established on the 25th of January 1950. The purpose of the day is to encourage greater voter participation, especially among young and first-time voters. Various events, including awareness campaigns and voter registration drives, are organized across the country to emphasize the importance of voting in a democracy. In Sikkim, National Voters' Day is also observed on the 25th of January, in line with the national celebration. The Election Department of Sikkim organizes activities like the distribution of electoral photo identity cards, EPICs, to newly registered voters, awareness campaigns, and workshops to promote ethical voting. The focus is on encouraging all eligible citizens in Sikkim to participate actively in the electoral process and uphold democratic values. The celebration of National Voters' Day in both India and Sikkim emphasizes the significance of voting rights. It reminds citizens of their vital role in shaping the governance of their state and the nation. Such initiatives strengthen democracy by ensuring wider participation in ethical voting practices. Main issues of voting in Sikkim. One of the main issues with voting is that many people vote for leaders based on what they can get personally, such as money, gifts, or other benefits. Instead of focusing on a candidate's leadership qualities or ability to govern, voters often choose candidates who promise material rewards before the election. This means that people are voting for their personal gain rather than for someone who can bring real, positive change to the community. This system also creates problems for the elected leaders. They feel pressured to provide large amounts of money or goods to their supporters, which can be difficult to sustain. The money used to fulfill these promises could be much better spent on things that help everyone, such as improving public services, education, or healthcare. The practice of clientelism, where politicians give selective benefits to a few people in exchange for votes, harms the broader democratic process. It may give short-term benefits, but it weakens long-term development. If the money spent on personal favors was used to support important projects, it could make a bigger difference for the whole community. To improve the situation, voting behavior in Sikkim needs to shift towards choosing leaders based on their ability, vision, and commitment to bettering the state. To address the issue of people voting for personal benefits rather than for leadership qualities, several steps can be taken to encourage informed voting and make the election process more focused on the well-being of the community. Voter education campaigns. It is important to educate voters about the importance of choosing leaders based on their abilities and plans for the future rather than offering money or gifts. This can be done through workshops, information campaigns, and social media to help people understand how a good leader can make positive changes. By involving local communities, voters can better understand how their vote affects the long-term future of their state. Stronger election monitoring. To reduce the use of money and gifts in elections, there needs to be better monitoring of campaigns. The government and independent organizations should carefully check the sources of campaign funds and punish those who offer material rewards for votes. This will help encourage voters to make choices based on the candidate's qualities rather than short-term benefits. Promote honest leadership. Political parties should lead by example and openly oppose the practice of offering gifts in exchange for votes. By focusing on honesty and integrity, political leaders can encourage voters to make decisions based on the candidate's true abilities to lead. Candidates should prioritize honest leadership and show voters that true change comes from transparency and long-term plans. Encourage community participation. Encouraging community involvement in local decisions can help voters better understand the impact of their vote. Holding public meetings, debates, and discussions allows citizens to hear from the candidates and assess their plans. This helps voters make decisions based on the leader's vision for the community, not just on what they can get in the short term. Use technology for transparency. Technology can be used to make the election process more open and honest. For example, online platforms can be used to share information about candidates and their policies, helping people make better decisions. Digital tools can also track how money is spent during campaigns, which can reduce the chances of candidates offering material rewards for votes. Under the visionary leadership of our Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamung Golay Sir, Sikkim has the potential to bring about the positive changes needed in the electoral system and governance. Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamung Golay Sir has consistently shown a strong commitment to the development and welfare of the people, and his leadership can inspire change in no time. His determination and zeal to transform the state will not only make Sikkim a better place to live but can also set an example for the rest of India, and even the world. With his leadership, Sikkim can become a shining example of how democratic processes can be improved, with voters making decisions based on the qualities and leadership of candidates rather than personal benefits. By focusing on long-term solutions and ethical governance, our Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamung Golay Sir can pave the way for a state that is prosperous, empowered, and self-sufficient, a model of success and growth. Under his guidance, Sikkim will undoubtedly emerge as a Sunaulo, Samriddhi, and Samartha state, where the benefits of democracy are truly felt by every citizen. With his vision, Sikkim has the potential to become not only a progressive state in India but also an inspiration for other regions around the world to follow. Sikkim's journey from a monarchy under the Chogyals to a full-fledged democratic state is a remarkable testament to the aspirations of its people for political representation and participation. Over the years, Sikkim has gradually shifted from limited democratic structures to a fully integrated part of India, with significant milestones such as the formation of the State Council in 1953, the establishment of the Sikkim Legislative Assembly in 1959, and the eventual abolition of the monarchy in 1975. This transition marked Sikkim's adoption of democratic values under the Indian Constitution, ensuring that the people of Sikkim could participate in shaping their future. However, challenges remain, particularly in the area of voting behavior. The practice of voting based on material benefits, rather than leadership qualities and long-term plans, has hindered the development of a fully informed electorate. This issue has given rise to clientelism, which undermines the democratic process and leads to unsustainable political practices. Despite these challenges, National Voters' Day serves as an important reminder of the need for ethical voting practices and greater citizen engagement in the democratic process. The leadership of Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamung Golay Sir holds great potential in addressing these challenges and driving Sikkim toward a more transparent, accountable, and prosperous future. With his vision for ethical governance and long-term development, Sikkim can become a model of democratic governance in India and inspire other regions across the world.